Buongiorno and welcome to the Sunday History Rewind. I'm your host, Jim Lumley. Today I'm in Salerno, Italy, and behind me is the World War II cemetery.
On September 9th, 1943, the Allies launched Operation Avalanche, dubbed the D-Day of Italy, the amphibious assault at the beaches near the coastal town of Salerno. The Allies arrived by sea and fought their way ashore and inland. The Germans reacted swiftly. For the next few days, the men of the 5th U.S. Army fought a hard battle along with British and Canadian forces, successfully liberating Italy from Hitler's grip. This peaceful, quiet cemetery is the final resting place for 1,846 soldiers, 107 unidentified, that were killed in World War II. Here on this hallowed ground are the remains of soldiers from England, Canada, South Africa, Australia, and India. The remains of American troops from these battles are interred at the Sicily-Rome Cemetery north of Naples.
So during World War II, the Allied forces were here fighting against the Germans who had taken over Italy, and this was one of the gun turrets where the American soldiers would hang out in.
The Allies landing on the Italian mainland almost never happened. Supreme Allies commander in the Mediterranean theater, General Dwight Eisenhower, and officers at his headquarters, had reservations about committing to war in Italy. Eisenhower was eager to open a second front in Europe as soon as possible, and he was afraid that fighting in Italy would take much of the needed resources from the main landing in Western Europe. The British Prime Minister Winston Churchill, on the other hand, insisted on invasion to knock Italy out of the war. Fully aware that invasion of Western Europe would not be possible until 1944, he skillfully used two conferences, the first one in Casablanca in January, and later the Trident Conference in Washington, in May 1943. To persuade President Roosevelt to proceed with the attack on Italy. The final objective was to tie down and divert from other fronts as many German divisions as possible. As Churchill believed, the quick surrender of the Italian army would force the Germans to shift at least 20 divisions to Italy and the Balkans. On the western side of Italy, the Allies, mainly underestimating the German strength, considered various options and created many plans. Some of them even called for a parachute landing on Rome. Finally, the planners narrowed the potential landing sites on beaches close to Naples and Rome. The area around Rome was also ruled out as being too far from air bases in Sicily and North Africa. After careful review, the final decision was to land at the Gulf of Salerno near Naples. The main objective of the operation, codenamed Avalanche, was to take Naples and the city's port facilities. The Great Armada, with more than 450 ships, of the Operation Avalanche invasion force, had no other option but to continue their way to Salerno. As the men aboard the ships made the final preparations for the landing, they were confident that an easy task lays ahead. No one expected that Italian troops would put any major resistance. Little did they know that in secrecy, fateful events began to unfold. While the fighting on Sicily still raged on, Italian King Victor Emmanuel III overthrew the government led by Benito Mussolini, and ordered the arrest of the Italian dictator. The newly appointed Italian government began the secret negotiations about the unconditional surrender with the Allies. Because of fear of the German reprisals, two sides agreed to announce armistice after the Allies landed in Italy. However, on September 8, while ships had just reached the Gulf of Salerno, General Eisenhower publicly broadcasted news about Italy's surrender. The cheers of rejoicing spread in the troopships, as many hoped the landing would be unopposed. Unfortunately for them, the Germans were quick to react. Following a pre-agreed plan, German units in Italy quickly set out to disarm the troops of their former ally, and occupy their bases, fortifications, and airports. That night, German troops took over the Italian beach defenses and coastal gun batteries, overlooking the Gulf of Salerno. When dawn came, the Germans were ready and waiting. At 3:20 a.m., on the left flank of the invasion beach, the men of the 4th Ranger Battalion stormed the small beach in front of Maori. The Battle of Salerno has begun.
The land on which this cemetery stands is the gift of the Italian people for the perpetual resting place of the sailors, soldiers, and airmen who are honored here. This is Jim Lumley for the Sunday History Rewind in Salerno, Italy.